Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Welcome to all the guests. We have a very special guest. We have someone new who just moved into the neighborhood. Choshev guy. His name is Rabbi Yitz Rosenbluth, right? Is that your name? There's a few people that just moved into the neighborhood. Like we have your son, he's right over here. Why didn't you sit next to your dad? So when did you move? A week and a half ago. Yitz also, when did you move in there?
2 weeks.
And he moved right next door to his best friend. Because of him, he probably moved there. But mamish next door, wall to wall, with Yirmi Gold. All right. Huh? Okay. So you should have a Yishuv Toiv. Whoever comes now in this kufa gets double schar. Huh? Can't fly back. That's a different story. All right, then Be'ezer Hashem, today should be your first of many dapim. We should finish us together. This is a continuation of that email that I read the other day, just a few days ago, with that younger man that I met in Oxnard last week, who wanted to return that hot plate to Walmart. Dear Rebellishly, a friend of mine who does business in Arkansas told me about a meeting at the Walmart headquarters. They said in one of their locations, they said the name, they have a disproportionate amount of returns of air conditioners. They want to know, can they change their return policy for this location only? It was a discussion with their lawyers if they would be accused of anti-Semitism. It would seem they're not happy about being in the gemach business. May Hashem grant parnasa b'shefa to all of Klal Yisrael. Beautiful email from Shmulik Kleiner from Brooklyn. The subject is Harei Ani Kiven Shana. Dear Rebelli, this is a letter of thanks and gratitude. Today I turned 56 years old, the Mazel Tov. But more importantly, a year has passed since you came to my shul, Agudis Yisrael in Flatbush, where you ignited and convinced me to start regularly learning the Daf Yomi and Shnai Mikro. Moiri v'Rabbi Rebelli, Harei Ani Kiven Shana. My ruchnius of my family has changed beyond recognition this year. I feel reborn. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu give you continued health and nachas. I don't know where the rest of it is. Okay, so I hope I didn't miss. Maybe some of it got cut off on the bottom. Shmuel Kleiner, Sam Kleiner from Brooklyn. Dear Rebelli, the subject. To all those that complain about the first 10 minutes of your shir, read this. Your Talmud since Gittin Daf Beis in Borough Park. I can't leave home without doing the Yomi. Hope to finish Shas, even though I won't qualify for the cruise. Mayor Fishman. Before the Satim Rebbe began his shir, which was mainly attended by Holocaust survivors, he would always ask each person in attendance how they were doing. One day, an eager chassid, impatient to start, reminds me of Mendy Auerbach. Rebbe, we've been talking for a while. Can we begin the shir already? The Rebbe responded, the Gemara starts in Daf Beis, but what is Daf Aleph? It's asking your friend how he's doing. That Chaval Mendy's not listening right now. Whatever it is, by the Satmar Rav, it was asking how you're doing, and by us, it's emails and listening to Avi Factor. It's all, but it goes by the generation.
We don't listen to Avi Factor.
If you want to pay for the shir by yourself, it's a $2 million budget, Avi. If you want to step it up, we won't do it. Be'ezer Hashem, you give us the $2 million, there won't be any ads. What are you tying up? We're Michael, you're $180, and we're going to continue with the ads. Yishkoyach. The Koilel is sponsored for the month. Binyomin Rosenfeld, Fatzloch in business. Avi, you want to step up? I won't do this. $10,000 for the Koilel. You got it?
$10,000, I'm giving shit.
Go. I'll tell you what. Let's do this. I have an idea for you. Why don't you prepare one daf in your life? One daf. And give it to 5 people, and then we'll see your attitude during shir. I don't think we'll hear any complaints after that. All right. The Masechta is sponsored for the safe and speedy return for all. I really recommend that every single person here in the shir should prepare one daf. One daf will be geschmack. Prepare it. See what a Magachir goes through, when Noam Fix used to take over for me, he said he couldn't focus the whole day, his family, nothing. Do it once. Avi, try it. Stop. For the fun of it, take 3 guys, I'll listen. We'll call one daf. These are actually very easy daf and technical. It's good schmack. Paras Achoidesh, Zechariah ben Moshe, Zechariah ben Yosef. Paras Achoidesh, Yedidya Pereira. Thank you for your tefillos. בחסדי Hashem, Yehonathan Yehuda ben Michael was granted bail to his home in the UK. Paras Achoidesh, Binyomin Rosenfeld was granted to Biderman, Eli, Gedale, Fenster, and Michael Safdie. Paras Shavua, Ari and Atara Stawis, in honor of our 15th year anniversary and coming up on 2 years doing the daf. Paras Shavua, official Mitzvah Motivators in memory of Yaakov, Shlomo ben Yechiel, Ofishel, and Friedland of Elchonon, and Morah, Toby, and Zaide of Mrs. Friedland, and a Yechiel Elchonon Hefter. Paras Hayoim, Simon Zellman, 50 yards out of my father, Leibo ben Shimon Alevi, Chavdez Menachemov, a Holocaust survivor. Paras Hayoim, Joe Sharp, Shkoyach to the MDY team for working harder than ever to bring us the daf over Ben Azmanim. Yishkoyach to the team. We have Yosef Biliak, he's back in the house. Yishkoyach for coming back. Hatzloch and Parnasan Refuah Shlema for Yosef Nissen ben Shalom Eliyahu V'choyle Am Yisrael. I don't know what that is. Okay, ben Shalom Eliyahu V'choyle Am Yisrael. The Paras Hayoim, Ari Greenstein, Lili Nishmat, Osna Malka Bat, Reb Tzvi Hirsch, Oleh Shalom. In the art of the month for Schutz Rebellion, the whole MDY staff to continue to make Torah so enjoyable for so many. Rabbi Sai, we're starting a brand new Masechta today, which is a new Mishnah, Daf Samches Amud Beis, the Mishnah. So if it's your first day, Rabbi Yitz, it's a brand new start. You don't have to know anything before this. It's right here. Zog the Mishnah. Now I counted over here. I counted very quickly. It's a very technical daf. The whole parak is technical. Not a lot of lumdus, maybe. Not a lot of stories. Technical. Maybe 35 variations of a halacha on just this one amud. If a person sells a field, so let me ask you, I'll show you this picture. I sell you this field. These nice stones, are they included in the sale or not? What do you say? Yes. Anybody? Yes. No. Why? Why yes?
It doesn't move, yeah.
Oh, it doesn't move. Okay, that's good, Mati. That's good. What if it does move? What if it does move? Okay. What if it does move? It's about moving. I'm not so sure it's about the moving. Okay. This is not, you're right. This is, when I put this picture in, I thought people will say that, and you're probably right. It's so large and heavy that it's probably part of the field, although they're not connected to the field, right? These are above the ground. Machares ha'avanim, you did sell the stones, shem litzarka, if it's for the usage of the field, not just sitting in the field. If it's for the usage of the field, as Gemara is going to explain, I use them to put on top of my wheat or whatever it is, then it's in part of the mechira. V'sakonim shebakerem shem litzarkoi, and if there's reeds in the vineyard, something like this, we'll see it in the Gemara, just to do a little chazar. Here's reeds holding up the vineyard, the green guys. Today we use like the metal all the way in the foreground of the picture and all the way in the right. Metal, you could use reeds. So if it's part of the vineyard, then it's included in the sale. And the wheat that's connected to the ground. What if you just cut the wheat and it needs to be on the ground because it needs to dry off? No, it's not included. This is very interesting. Struggled a little bit to understand the Metzias. I know konim means reeds. What's chitzas hakonim? So there's a picture in the Pirush Chai. We just elaborated the picture. It's basically a lot of reeds that come out of one. So Kobe found me this. This is like one trunk with a lot of reeds coming out of the center. So if it's base roiva, this looks like a base roiva, like a nice gezunta size, then it's not included. If it's pchusa mi base roiva, like in this case, what's interesting about this Mishnah and the entire sugya, it tells you the yes, and then we repeat the whole sugya on the no. So it's like a double sugya, double Mishnah, a lot of freebie. At the end of the Mishnah is going to say, that's a roiva. Okay. So this chitzas hakonim is a little less than a roiva kav ves hashemera sheina suy betit. And then we're going to have a shemera that has tit. What's a shemera sheina suy betit? This is a little bit of an exaggeration. This might be a little nicer than usual, but if it's not covered with plaster, so it doesn't belong on the field. It's something extra. You come with a little crane, you lift it up, you bring it to your next property. It's not part of the property. Since it's not with the tit. If it has this plaster like this, then it's something chashuv. It's not part of it. If I sell you a field that has a house on it, the house is not part of the field. So if I sell you a house that has a guard booth that's solid, it's not part of the field. Because I'm selling you a field, I'm not selling you a what. But if it's a weak one, then it is part. If I sell you a boxer tree, a carob tree, she'enin murkav, it's a very young one. V'spsus hashikma, a sycamore tree that's very young, like so, the one on the right, a shvacha one. They didn't, strengthen it with harkava, or psus hashikma, the one on the right, that is included. But if it's a solid tree, it's a real shikma tree, a sycamore tree, it's not included in the field. Aval, here, now we do the whole Mishnah again, in the reverse. If the stones are there not for the usage of the field, and the reeds in the vineyard, they're not there for its usage, but wheat that's already reaped is not included. But if he says, like we had in the Mishnah previously, if he says everything that's in this field is included, then it includes the wheat and the guard booth, everything. But regardless, it doesn't include the chitzas hakonim. So this is the funny one. Funny, very different lashon I don't know that we had such a thing. Chitzas hakonim, like a bunch of arrows maybe that come out of the trunk that are reeds, reed arrows. Shibeis roiva. I don't know. I don't think it has to do anything with chitzas. And not a booth that's made with some covering that's a solid booth, because it's not part of the field. And not the carob tree on the left and the shikma on the left. Says the Gemara, Samachtes Amud Aleph. My avonim shein l'tzarka. What are we talking about? What kind of stones are needed for the field? Say in here in Bava we say it's avnei da'achba. These are stones a lot smaller than the stones I showed you in the beginning.
It's needed. It's on.
Shein l'tzarka. It's for the usage of the field. How? It's to put on top of the wheat that you reap that shouldn't fly away in the wind. You put it down, use them as weights. If you use it as weights and you're selling a wheat field, then it's included. These are the stones that are piled up nicely for a fence. Last night, it was already after 1 a.m. and my wife, I don't know if you experienced this, my wife was still crying about Hirsch. It was a tough day, rough day for the women in my family. I don't know about yours. And talking about Avonim, I heard once from one of the Gedale Olam, I forgot who, maybe Chatzkel, I don't remember. He said that our enemy, without going into mention, certain enemy that we have, they're born with a stone in their hand. And if Klal Yisrael does the right thing, then they take that stone and they build for you. And if not, they take that stone and they kill you with it. In this week's parsha is a beautiful word I saw from the Magen Mikel in this week's parsha. It says, Ki yipal b'mcha davar lemishpat, bein dam ledam, bein din ledin, bein nega lenega, divrei rives b'sharecha. So he says, sometimes you wonder to yourself, bein dam ledam, why does Klal Yisrael have dam? Why did they kill the 6 hostages in cold blood, murderers? You know, Hirsch is his mother's from Chicago, and she went around, so we feel, sometimes we feel a little closer to this. This one is a frum, and there's another one that came from a frum family, and not that there's an afkemina. I'm just saying you feel a little bit more shaykhs maybe. He says because sometimes you have din ledin. There's a gzeira that the goyim have, nega lenega. If you think about it, in America, in the real estate business, if you ask somebody what nationality are you, what religion do you belong to, you go to jail. Go to jail. You say something about a certain color, certain type of person, jail. But if you talk about a Jew, 100% mutter. That's okay. It's not a pella. It's binega lenega. It's a nega in Klal Yisrael. What's pshat? How does this happen? That 6 people murdered like this? It's fine. And the taina is no. It's not on that. It's not even mad. I was watching the news today. They didn't even mention Hamas. They didn't even mention the terrorists. It's all about. It's our fault that did this. Pshat is. You know what the pshat is? The Maggid Mikel says. It's because of sinas chinam between Yidden. It's because we have infighting between Hasidim and Litvaks and Sfardim and Ashkenazim, and this group and that group, and the right and the left. It's non-stop. And if we could stop that sinas chinam, then we're in control. And then I really didn't want to say this because it's a little personal, and I might get into trouble, but I don't care because I think it's again now because of this matzav. When I was reading the pasuk, and I think this pasuk pshat, and I don't know, you can look, you can tell me if you saw this somewhere else. I'm sure it's just simple. It says in the pasuk that this week's parsha that we just read, lois is going to do. So there's one pshat, and the Gemara says another pshat. Lois is going to means you shouldn't make agudas. There shouldn't be groups in Klal Yisrael. There shouldn't be groups, and it's a deraisa. Lois is going to do not to make different groups. Don't act differently. There's all different deraisa. So why does the Torah start off? Bonim matem lashem. Lois is going to do, and it was so pasha to me because right now, punk now. You know how it goes in your family. I have two of my older kids. Then a little bit of a fight. I'll get into trouble if they see this. But me as a father, mamish hurts me. I didn't say anything to them, but it hurts to see that they're not getting along right now. They have there's something going on. As a father, I don't know if you ever had this. 2 kids, sometimes little kids, okay, no. Especially, if a little kid smacks the other kid, it also hurts you. You feel that smack. When you Akash Baruch was saying, you're my children. How could you fight like this? How can you make groups? Because I'm your father. That's why it hurts. All right, weiter gegangen. All this has to do with the sugya because it says avonim. Ulo amar avonim asduris legoder. Vatani, you can laugh all you want. I don't have anything here else in the sugya. It's one of these technical sugyas. Huh? The one who wrote the Brisa, he explains what's avonim. Avonim is bura. Sorry, Ula Amar. Avonim has duris legader. So here I have a picture. What's avonim is duris legader? Something like this. The mamish, the nice. They came on a pallet. They're ready to build one of these. Let's say a nice fence around the tree. But Reb Chia says no. It's this. It's a stam of a pile. It's burais. It's not zdurais. Zdurais is nice, on a nice little, everything is musudar, and zburais is just thrown around like that. Avonim zburais legader. So the Gemara, you're right. Tani's zdurais, you have to change Reb Chia's Bryce a little bit and say zdurais, not zburais. There's a dalid missing over there, or the bottom of the base was added by mistake. Here in Bavel, we say that it's these stones that put down their weights on the wheat. The Remeir, the Metaknon, so you have Remeir who's very makel. And you have Rabbanon Umachmer, the Machmer. You'll see a few of these cases, very similar. Remeir says it doesn't even have to be in the field. If you order from Home Depot a bunch of stones, and it came and arrived at your warehouse, it's not even on the field. That's enough. It's Misaknon. A makta, like the Yerushalmi takes a stone before Shabbos, he says, I'm makta this to throw it on a Michal Shabbos cart. So it's not mukta anymore. So you makta these stones for my field. So you don't need to put it there. Machta means to put it in the field. No. Who the machtan? If it's in the field, then it's part of the field. If you stop and you thought about putting it in the field, that's not enough. Ula says, what do you mean you thought about it? It has to be mamish, piled up nicely like this. For the field, for a fence. It doesn't go like Remeir. You don't have to be Misader. Ula says you have to be Misader. Ula could go well with Rabbanon that not only does it have to be on the field, it has to be on the field in a nice pile. And the field includes reeds that are part of the vineyard. The vineyard includes reeds. Who needs reeds in a vineyard? These are reeds, hamachulok. So there's two pshatim here in the Rishonim. The Rashbam seems to say that it's split on top like this, so that the grape could rest on it. It's mechulok. Taisus says it's smooth. He's going more like with the continuation of the Gemara that here. L'Ramei the Mishaifon. It was smoothed out. Avagav Dloi Mukban, even though you didn't put it there. The Rabbanon the Mukban. And according to Rabbanon, it's I said yesterday Taisus Pshat, and the Menachem Ateh said, hey, the Rashbam says otherwise. So I'm looking around and I see that I don't know. The ArtScroll says the Rashbam says that it's smooth. I don't know. Fine. So that's where maybe I saw. I don't know, but I don't know where the ArtScroll got it from. I couldn't find it in the Rashbam. Taisus does say it. He doesn't quote Taisus though. Tfuah that's mechuber to the karka, even though it's ready to be cut and reaped. So we had a few times in the maybe even in this Masechta where wheat is 100% done, so it's not even considered mechuber karka. It's not part of. Over here it is. If I sell you a field with wheat that's 100% ready to be cut and sold, it's still part of the field. And this interesting picture, where is it? This guy, if it's less than a size of a roiva, avagav dalim, even though they're very thick, it's included. It's included. And the guardhouse, what? Avagav dalim means thick. I didn't say the words. Vavgav dalime. Bes hashomer shenasui betit. Yes, the shomer, the guardhouse that's not covered with lime, is sold. Avagav d'lekfia baro, even though it's not part of the field. So, different trees that are younger, they are sold. They're sold even though they're very thick. You see what I'm saying about technical? Another Allah. Go remember this stuff. Oh, and now we're going in the reverse. What's not sold? Stones that are not part of the field. What does that mean? According to Rameir, you didn't say they're muktzah for the field. According to Rabbanon, you didn't bring them to the field. Everything's in reverse. And according to Ula, it says that these are stones that are set for the fence. According to Rabbanon, it means that they are not piled up nicely, and therefore they're not included. And the reeds in the vineyard that are not for the usage of the vineyard. I'm just thinking to myself now, I remember reading that some of these famous actors, they buy these vineyards. They're worth $30-40 million in France. So you sell it, and then the guy comes after and says, no, but it doesn't include the 25 reed poles. It includes the vineyard, but not the pole. You got to give me back my reed poles. The Gemara is full of this, that people are everything had a value. There's no such, just take it. It's my reed pole. It's even mechuluk. I spent time splitting the top of it. It's the right size. I'm going to use it in my next vineyard.
It's practical to everything. Everything for you.
Mati, this is your third hara. Because you weren't here for a month, you get 27 more. One per day.
It's my share. Oh, seriously, sell an apartment, you got something inside, not included.
That's the whole sugya. Mati, that was the whole sugya last week. I'm not going to say anything. What? You weren't? That's not my fault. I was. The shir was here every single day. That's exactly. That's the whole sugya of when you sell a house, what's included. When you sell a mikvah, what's included. Does it include the towels, not the towels. Does it include the light fixtures, not the light fixtures. Mishnah after Mishnah after Mishnah. But today, don't worry about it. Today's a brand new Mishnah, new Masechta, kilo, nothing happened. Don't worry about it. But let's these reeds, according to Rameir, either they're not smoothed out, they're a little rough around the edges. You didn't place them in the vineyard, so they are not included. And weed that is already detached from the ground, what's the chiddush? It's detached. Why should it be part of my field? Yeah, if I sell you a field and there's a case of Coca-Cola on the field, do you get the case? No. Why? It has nothing to do with the field. So if I sell you a field that has a bunch of piles of wheat, you don't get the wheat. The chiddush is part of growing wheat is that you reap it, you cut it, and then you have to leave it on the field for a certain amount of time so it's to dry out, and then you could use it. But the point is, you don't need this field. You could dry it out somewhere else. You could dry it on your house, on the roof. You don't need this field. It's not 100% connected to this field, and therefore it's not included in the field. Oh, and once you have these reeds, like in this picture over here, that's a very large one, it's a Beis Roiva, then it's not included. It's a davar chashav. Even though these might be very thin branches, they are not included. So this is anything a davar chashav. If you have a very small little bush of spices, something that smells good, it has its own name, it's not included. For instance, there are certain roses in my neighborhood, right here on this block. There's a certain rose tree that I know that some kids come from the neighborhood once in a while and they take a rose. So there's a guy in the neighborhood that comes and chases them away. Sometimes he calls the police. So the oilam calls this rose, it's named after him. That's his rose bush. Mamish this. Varda de planya. It's his rose. Don't start up with the roses. Your mamish gonna get beat up if you touch the roses. It's Plany's roses. It's not even his. It's the neighborhood's, but he's makbid on the neighborhood's roses. So this butka over here, even though you hear mati, this is mamish against what you were saying. Even though it's connected to the ground, and I bought the field, so I would think if I bought the field, I get the booth. No, it's a davar chashav b'fnei atzim. It's not included. I would read this. I don't know. They take it out. They don't take it out. Interesting that the Gemara throws this in has nothing to do with our sugya. You have these. I don't know what they are exactly. I mean, today it doesn't really apply to what we know. I thought it's something like this. The door frame, but the Gemara asked, does the door frame come together with the house? Perhaps the guy wants to remove his door frame. Who knows what they did in those days? Guys walking away with door frames. It could be something more decorative like this. B'kitzur, it doesn't seem like it's this, because the Rashbam says that it prevents the door from opening up completely. It seems like it's some door block. You get the point. It's made out of wood, and in those days, they would leave you without a door frame. Okay, I don't know. There was such a musag that I could walk away, I could take my door frame with me. Whatever it is. It says the Gemara, if it's adhered to the house, it's attached to the house with cement, of course, it's part of the house. It has like a wooden, what do they call this in English? A peg. Yeah, a wooden peg. So it's not the strongest thing. Mai, teiku. So there's an interesting halacha that comes out of this, that's negeh to us. A wooden peg. What on your house is attached with a wooden peg that perhaps shouldn't be included in the sale of your house? Rabbi Yitzi, you sold your house when you moved there? Nachnisht. It happened to be mezuzahs. Mezuzahs. Is a mezuzah part of the sale of the house or not? It's one of these things you just go like this and it comes right off. Sometimes it's you attach it with the two-sided tape. Sometimes it's two little. Oh, you're not allowed to take it down, but that's only because of sakana, and we're not talking about sakana. We're talking about sale. In halacha, there's no halacha can't force you not to do a sakana. It might be a sakana for you, but I didn't sell it. Now, Rav Osner paskins that a mezuzah is not included in the sale. For instance, so a lot of times you buy very expensive mezuzahs. A mezuzah can cost you over $100 today. You don't want to leave a $100 mezuzah for your house. You have 20, 30 doors. You don't want to leave them. You want to replace them with a $20 mezuzah. Or you don't even want to replace it with $20 mezuzah. You want to leave him the mezuzah, but you want the guy to pay you full price for the mezuzah. That's also something. Rav Osner says that's the halacha. He's mechuyev to pay you the full amount. It's not included in the sale of a house based on this idea of the Nikita Besike. The Gemara says if it's attached with cement, then it's part of the house. But I don't know. It's a teiku if it's attached with some sort of nail or whatever. And memelo. Imagine I sold a house and it has silver mezuzah covers, very decorative. Meichtes is part of the house. Maybe it's like a piece of art on the wall. I don't know, whatever. That's how he passes. I'm sure there's other people on mechulik, but that's it. Huh? I see you have another 27. We're counting.
I said mezuzah, not the cover.
Yeah, everything. Both. Boy Reb Lazar. We said this. Boy Reb Zera. And this is like intim salama kind of thing. And if you say that the door is included, Boy Reb Zera, what about the wood around the windows? Here, like such. Or like this. This is more decorative maybe. Some nice wood. I want those rotten 2x4s. Why not? It's geschmack stuff. Maybe it's only for beautification, for aesthetics. They're attached to the house. It's part of the house. Teiku. It's not so posh. Some people want to look tall while they sleep, so they put some of this stuff. They raise up the bed. Is that included? Is that included with the bed or not? If it's connected to the bed, then of course it's part of the bed. It's not attached to the bed. I forgot. Is that this Rabbi Yirmiyah that always asks these interesting questions? It's Rabbi Yirmiyah. With the goizel that has 1 foot over here, 1 foot over there. Got into trouble, then they threw him out of base marriage because of his questions. Teiku. Now, if you have a carob tree or a sycamore tree that's massive and it has its own name, then it's not included in the field of Amud Beis. How do I know that something choshev is not included? You know when it says v'goymer, you better read the rest of the pasuk because in fact, the entire rise from the rest of the pasuk, nothing to do with the Gemara brought, but you're supposed to know this pasuk al peh. Us, if we didn't go to Zichru, we have no idea. This is about Avraham Avinu buying the Morah Machpelah, and it says at the end of the pasuk that he bought it v'amar shabai v'chol eitz asher basada asher b'chol gvuloi savim. It should say v'chol eitz. He bought the Morah Machpelah with all the trees. What's asher basada? Asher basada is good. All the trees that are in the field. But what's asher b'chol gvuloi? Everything within its borders. Saviv. Few extra words here. So the Gemara darshans, we don't do sponsors in the middle of a pshat. And there's only one person that can say sponsors. If you're new to the shir, there's only one person that's allowed to say that word.
I'm back.
And he's back. That's it. He got used to saying it when you weren't here. Mishad tzarech ligvul saviv. The pshat is like this. There are trees that you need a border. You need to say, whose tree is that? That's Avraham Avinu's tree. Why? Because it's a little shvacha tree in a field. I don't know whose tree it is. We have a sycamore that the trunk is 7 feet wide and it extends 100 feet in each direction. Then everybody knows that's Avraham Avinu's tree. I don't need the borders. So the pasuk is saying that v'chol asher b'chol gvula is referring to simple trees, small trees. We have a sycamore. You have a carob tree that is not included in this day Ephraim. That's not included in the Morah Machpelah. That's its own thing. And another halacha. Saviv, it says the last word, so what Saviv is really extra that word. Here, Benny, you didn't see this picture last night. Mitzarim. Mitzarim means the borders. That in those days, in order to differentiate between two fields, Reuven on the right, Shimon on the left, they would raise up the ground or lower the ground. But who owns that ground itself? One of the two people owns it. But if I'm selling you a field without a maitzer, so then the guy that owns the border, the guy that sold the field, he could come and plant, I don't know what, saffron on that entire border. It's 3 miles long, it says. But since the Torah says, Saviv says that this borderline that goes around the field is also included in the Mechira, and now Rabbi Sai, we're going to do what he asked me to do, sponsors. Amud Beis is sponsored by Yisrael Sher. We're waiting for him to come back. Construction management supervision and the life share community protecting families today before tomorrow's unexpected loss. And by Innovations LLC in honor of my uncle, Elchonon Pressman and Ofishel, and his schus for Akivasimchim Fega, and Rivki Yuda's Bas, Yavachayo. Omar, Ravi Yehuda, Haimandim Zabenar Lechavrei, Tzorch Lemichtav Lei. A person who sells a field, he should write Knilach Diklin. You're getting the palm trees, Vitolin, and the small trees, Vahutzin. Hutzin is like what? Like little, like reed sort of a tzitzin, a type of a palm tree. Bekitzer, everything's included. It says the Gemara, we talk about this all the time. Even though you didn't write it specifically, it works anyways, you get all that stuff. It's a much better shtar when you write all these little things. So again, I'm going to say, I learned it on myself, so I'll share with you. It's always kedai to write a shtar, even if you're doing business with your own father, even if you're doing business with your wife, even if you're doing business with your children. I'm being magzim a little bit, but there's situations in life, they say, you know what, he's my best friend, I don't have to write a shtar. And then, all of a sudden, but I didn't say this. What do you mean? But you did. No. And both of you are 100% sure that it's not. It's kedai to write, B'rocho bitcha aktana. Exactly. This is how it was with everybody. You tell your father-in-law, I have a Kabbalah, I have to do it. I'm sorry, it's very uncomfortable, we got to write a shtar. If you don't, a lot of things happen down the line. Later on, years later, people forget, people don't know. Kedai to write. Omale aro v'dikle. If a person says, I'm selling you aro v'dikle, I just want to show you I did a very simple chart here because if you read it, you might not pay attention. There's 3 ways to say the same exact thing. Aro vidikla, aro bidikla, aro beidikla. And it means 3 different things. Aro ve means and. Be means with. And be means a place. So it makes a big nafkamina. If you say, I'm selling you land with a tree, you better have a tree in there if you know what's good for you. You said, I'm selling you a land with a tree. If you say, aro vidikla, aro means a land and a tree. And if you say ara with a tree, that's a megachtos. If you say ara, a place of a tree, then you can get away with it. It means it's a place that I could have planted a tree. Let's see inside. It has potential for a tree. I didn't mamish mean there's a tree there. Omalei ara vidikla, if he said and a tree, chazinon. We take a look. If he has a tree there, yavle trey dikla. He has to give him at least 2 because he said dikla. Dikla means minimum 2. Vilesle, and there are no trees there. Zavanli trey dikla. He goes to the store, buys 2 trees. Vimishabde, and if he has trees, but they're already meshubad, they're already somebody has a lien on them for a loan. Parakle trey dikla. Then he must redeem those 2 trees, pay off his loan. So he has at least 2 trees that are available for the buyer. That's if he says land and a tree. What if he says ara bidikla, a land with a tree? Chazinon. Isba dikla yoivle. If there are trees there, you give it to him. Bilav mekachtosu. So what do you do, Rabbi Yosef, if there's a mekachtos? Give back the money. So let me ask you a question. Not everybody, people that were here last night, maybe shouldn't answer. I have a simple question. I think you could come up with the answer yourself. This is halacha, and when it comes to real estate, there's no way no. I could charge you whatever I want. It's $100,000 property, I could charge you $2 million. You can't, I'm not over anything, you can't come after me. So what's the problem over here? I told you that I'm selling you a field, and here's a field. Okay, so it doesn't have trees in it.
You can't misrepresent it just because it's no.
Oh, says Akiva the lawyer. He's a real attorney. He's right. Can't represent. You cannot misrepresent. You can overcharge, but you can't misrepresent. I think it's very simple, but the Rishbam goes in to explain it. He says exactly what you said. That he said there's a field with trees. You're a liar. That's not oina. That's lying. Zog, huh? Are you sure? Oh, okay. I go with the Rishonim that say there's no Isser.
He says the lawyer knows about lie. This is what I get.
There's a famous Maisa. Yesterday somebody came over to me afterwards to explain to me all these Maisas from the same source. A guy, he was doing a Chanukah Sabayis for his yeshiva. Big yeshiva, Chanukah Sabayis. And he goes to the special place. He says, listen, I want these CDs that have all these nice songs, Chanukah Sabayis songs. Give me a nice picture of the yeshiva building on the CD. You'll give it out on the table. Each person gets one of these CDs. The guests show up at the meal, and they get a picture of like this old man, and you turn on the CD, it's a bunch of a spadim for the old guy. So it's a shtickle mekachtos. He wanted his money back. So the guy gave him his money back. He felt bad. It was a big mistake. He messed up. He sent the Shloshim CDs to the Chanukah Sabayis and the Chanukah Sabayis CDs to the Shloshim. The guys in the Shloshim are getting all this celebrity music. And the next day, this Gvir calls up the Rishiv, says, listen, you're not going to believe it. I've been looking for this hesped for a long time. This is my uncle's hesped. It was mamish Moridika hesped. And therefore I'm giving you 9 months later, $9 million, whatever this mice is. So the shaila is, I don't know which Rav. Who do you think the Rav was that they asked the shaila to? Shaila is, does he have to return? Now he made a lot of money off the CD. Is it a mekachto still? He got his money back. But the lies of the CD got him a few mil. Okay, Ayin Sham. Somebody came over to me after the shir and said that Rav Zilberstein himself says in one of his svarim that you're allowed to make up stories. It's the Geshmaka stories. He pulls it out of the Gemara. It's not all the stories ever happen, but it's mutter and it's kedai to do. Okay, so it explains it a little more. Ma'aser kamat hayas. Zog the Gemara. Oh, Aro Bei Dikle. If he says this is a place for palm trees, the final one. Leslie Dikle. If it has no palm trees, the Chazal, it's not a big deal. All he meant to say, the earth here, it's not in Brooklyn. This is a place where you could plant trees. You could plant palm trees, geschmack for palm trees. I didn't mean there's a palm tree there. So he says here's a bunch of palm trees. He says, besides this one right over here, the one in the center. Chazinon, if it's a good one, it produces more than a kav of dates, shiri shaire. So he said, you could have all the palm trees, but I want this one for myself. But if he said, if you find out this is a bad palm tree, certainly the other ones. What does that mean? So it means like this. I don't know. I did this real quick this morning, so excuse me if it's a shtickle. Basically, what he's saying, chutz mizeh, the one in the center, that's the cutoff point. Everything worse than that is included in the sale, and anything better or equal to that is not included in the sale. This is just like a reference point. This chutz mizeh, besides this palm tree, so we look at it, we say, oh, this is a pretty bad palm tree, it doesn't produce that much. Besides that, in other words, everything above it is not included in the sale, and everything below it is included. Now just one very quick halacha here, very simple. If a person says, I'm selling you this field besides the trees, let me ask you something. Think about it before we look inside. Besides the trees, and there's a nice vineyard in there. Is a vineyard a tree? You said besides the trees, you say no. Anybody agree with him that a vineyard is not included? What about palm trees? Are palm trees trees? Besides the trees, palm trees? Here's a good one. Let's say palm trees and grapes are a tree, but it can only mean one of them. Which one is more of a tree? A palm tree or grapes? Grapes are more of a, he says, it's already machlekes here. What's more of a tree, a palm tree or grapes? Palm tree, because it's called a palm tree. You guys are wrong. He's right. Grapes. So now let's see inside. I'm selling you this whole field besides the trees. If there are actually trees on the field, so we deduct the trees. He didn't sell the trees. If he has palm trees on the field and he used the lashon of trees, palm trees are trees. This is a good one. If there are grapes on this field, because when he says trees, he means also a grape tree. There's also a grapevine, but he meant the tree that it grows grapes. Now, what happens if there are trees, ilane vigufne, there are trees and grapes? Then obviously he did not mean the grapes. What he meant is lebar mi ilane, only the trees. What if there are ilane vidikle, there are trees and palm trees? And he said, I'm not selling it. I'm selling you everything besides the trees. Lebar mi ilane, so you have to take off the trees because in this case, compared to the trees, palm trees are not trees. But here's the final thing. Gufne vidikle. There are no trees. There are vines and palm trees. What did he mean when he said, besides the trees? Lebar migufne. The grapes are more of a tree than a palm tree. And therefore, what he meant to say is, I'm not selling you the vineyard. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.